Okay, good afternoon to everyone, and we just want to say welcome again to another episode of Together We Rise Building Our Nation. And this afternoon, I couldn't be more privileged to be sitting here with two of Jamaican top athletes in their own class, in their own race. Dennis Blake, the Olympian, two-time 400 Olympian and medalist, you know, for Jamaica way back in the 90s. You know, have held many ranks, which we learned of. Last week, we were unpacking some of those. This week, with us, we have Devon Harris, three-time bobsled Olympian, a man who have been empowering youths all over the world. I'll say globally, you know. And this afternoon, I have to apologize to him personally due to the fact that I have not dug deep enough into my history to have known, you know, the impact that he's having on the world after, leaving track and field, leaving, Jamaica bobsled team, which he's still here with us. But, I think his history or his landmark, the foundation that he have set is something that every Jamaica should know and should follow. So from this evening on, I'm asking that let us all get a little bit closer to our roots and our history. So from what I've unpacked in just the few glance of his um, online presence, I can tell you guys he have such impact on this world. So we just want to welcome both of these Olympians to the stage, Dennis Blake and Devon Harris. Devon Harris, welcome. Dennis, welcome.
Yeah, man, thanks.
Milan, thank you, man. Thanks for
Happy to
having
be
me on.
here.
Great to be hanging out. Always great to be hanging out with other Olympians. I usually hang out with Winter Olympians, but I'm gonna make an exception for Dennis.
Exception for today. uh, we must also add that the bobsled produce what we call cool runnings, which I think is one of, I would say maybe iconic movie, and it really come about because of people like Devon Harris, who, who would ever think that winter sports would come out of Jamaica? You know what I mean? So I want to just highlight that as well.
Yeah, man.
And he's also an author. We want to make sure that he's also known. And I think Devon, at the end, depending on how much time we have, you get a chance to talk about some more about your book and also about your foundation.
All right, cool. Yeah, man, sure.
Yeah. So I'm sure you are aware of what is taking place in the professional realm when it comes to sports. We know that some of the things that are happening now is not really new. Athletes has been crying out for decades. It's not just track and field. We know it's also happening in other sports. We see that in female soccer. We see that in cricket. We see that also happening in other major sports. And what is really taking the social media by storm is the recent trend of the major Jamaican field event athletes. They are switching allegiance to Turkey. Um, Four of our top athletes, and what we heard is that they are doing so because there's a lucrative offer of, from what I get to understand, is over 500,000 US dollars as a sign-on bonus. So that brings us to now to having these discussions. So how should the World Athletics National Federation like the J3s and the IOC balance athletes' rights, financial freedoms with the integrity of national representation and fair competition?
That's you want me to answer that, Dennis?
I want you to answer that question because there's going to be some follow-on question with that. So
Yeah. I think we probably need brighter minds than mine to unpack it. But here's the thing: we live in a very global world. Sorry, a global village in a way. I mean, here it is that you and I, three of us, born and bred in Jamaica, and I'm sure there are many others who are listening to us right now, born and bred in Jamaica or another part of the world, and live in the U.S. And we moved here because we felt that there were opportunities available to us in a country other than the land of our birth that were not available in Jamaica in this case. And it doesn't mean that we love Jamaica any less, that we are any less of Jamaicans because we live in America, for that matter, right? And so if you think about in our respective professions, here it is that we're pursuing those professions, excelling in them, contributing in those professions in a country other than the one that we were born with in. So and I get the whole sports thing, right? You know, you and I, we've competed in 5 Olympic Games combined. So we understand patriotism more than most in that sense, right? I have been represented serving my country since I was 19, because I joined the JDF right after high school. So I kind of feel like I have earned the right to talk about laying my life on the line for my country. Literally, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about, John Brown, who came here as a doctor, Mary Stewart, who came as a computer analyst and is plying their trade in America and not in Jamaica, why should an athlete be any different? Is a question. Right?
That's $1 million question.
Yeah, we understand the impact of sports on the world, the impact of sports on a nation. We know that when you go to the Olympic Games, the nationalism and the patriotism, it's at its zenith, and we take no greater pride than seeing our athletes, even if they're not on the podium, but performing well, just representing us. But at the end of the day, these are still people with lives, with families that they have to support. And so after you've sacrificed so much, and that's the thing, people I don't think that people fully understand the extent to which athletes sacrifice. And I'm going to go off. I'm going to follow on a tangent here a little bit, Dennis, only because I really don't comment on these things a lot when I see them in social media, especially. But I remember a few years ago, a young lady, Jamaican, had competed, and I guess she didn't live up to the standard. And
we lost you.
You lost me? Hello? Yeah. She didn't live up to the standard that we expect as Jamaicans. And people dog her out. And I'm wondering to myself, how many of these people who are vilifying this young lady to the point where she had to delete her social media account, how many of them have ever put themselves out there for their country in the way that she has? It's one, of course, we want our supporters and we want our fans and so on. But, how dare you vilify someone who has put themselves out there, sacrificed in ways that you have never even imagined? You're criticizing and belittling and bullying them.
Yeah, and we can also add to that too. In recent time, we have Asafa Powell, who came out and say something about his kids and all that. And I hear some comments that were made, even some people saying, well, Jamaica has done a lot for him. He make a lot of money. Why is he complaining? But that's not what he was saying. You know what I mean? That's not what he was saying. And look at what happened. It was a few months after, maybe less than a month after, these athletes are looking forward to leave. So
I think we get it twisted sometimes. I know we as Jamaicans are very passionate about our sports and our athletes. Us on the bobsled team, half jokingly talk about after we crashed in Calgary, we're really worried to go back home because in our mind we had failed our country. And that people were not going to be happy and they're going to, come meet us at the airport back in the days when you had a waving gallery and say, "See the idiot boy, them never French,"
And then,
But people were very kind to us. But I think we we sometimes, as Jamaican fans, get it twisted. There's a tremendous amount of pride that we take in representing our country. And yes, the country enters us into events. But the work is done by the athlete.
By the athlete.
So, you know, when you're going to say, look what Jamaica do for you. Okay, all right, cool. So these guys are like, all right, well, I can go Turkey, and Turkey can do better. If you're going to measure it in that.
If you're gonna take that route.
Yeah. I have to imagine, I don't know that I would have made the same decision. Everybody's situation is different. You know, when I competed in my first 2 Olympics, I served in the JDF. So that wouldn't even have been an option if I was even being offered $1 million. I had an obligation to remain in the JDF until 1992. Having said that,
we're losing you.
What's that?
No, you're good.
Oh,
no, Dennis is having a problem. We have him, Dennis. I'll let you know if we lose him.
Right. So look, I have to imagine that the decision that these athletes were faced with was a gut-wrenching one. Should I make a move for financial reasons, or should I stay for patriotic reasons? And boy, let's be honest, in the end, patriotism not going to pay your bill and support you in retirement, you know.
Right, and I think the public is coming to realization that, you know, it's not just athletes. The people them who leave Jamaica come America, they come for a better life. And these athletes are running, and it's really for a better life. And yes. Staying there is, you know, and I think it's a wake-up call, because they are now putting things in place that they could have done a long time ago, because the athletes are not just crying out yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Years ago, the athletes has been saying stuff, and the backlash and all that type of thing. But Ian, you have something you want to say? We can move on, because one other thing that I wanted to add here is that the athletics ruling is that it takes 3 years before they can really compete in another country. So my question to you is the 3-year ruling, what do you have to say about that? I strongly believe that is too long, because it tells me that even now these athletes will not be able to compete at the World Championship in Japan.
Yeah, I think clearly they put that in there to discourage athletes from switching allegiance. The challenge is that systems can be abused, and if there is, let's say you could switch, an allegiance and compete in a year, you may have more people. More people doing it. I don't know. Yeah, it does seem a little bit unreasonable. 3 years is a really long time in the life of an athlete.
Especially a track athlete.
Yeah. It's a really long time.
It's a long time. So I think
don't know, because I'm not really up to speed with what the rules are. I've stopped competing for a while, but I can think of at least one athlete who was representing Canada and went to represent a different country, and then switched back to Canada in time for the Olympics in bobsledding. So 3 years. They clearly are trying to discourage it, but 3 years is an incredibly long time in the life of an athlete, and you have to look. This is a world we live in. You have to consider economics when athletes are making those decisions.
So do you think there could be global consequences for countries buying, so to speak, elite athletes? I mean, wealthier nations. I'm sure, like a Jamaica wouldn't be able to afford to buy an athlete, so to speak.
Yeah. Well,
and that could damage the identity of the sport.
I think clearly Turkey knew what the rule was. If it's 3 years, and they're willing to, it's an investment.
They're willing to invest, right?
Yes, it's an investment. So they may go, well, you know what, we're going to wait 3 years. The next Summer Olympics are in 3 years, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing. So maybe they might be eligible in time. to compete for the for.
Well,
for
I think I believe that there can be a fast track if the Jamaica Associate the J3s and I guess the Olympic Association, whoever that body is, if they have the communication and they agree, then they
Right.
can speed up the process of maybe 2 years or so.
I don't think that athletes should be punished for
Making those
their
decisions.
allegiance, because again, I can only imagine the turmoil in their patriotic hearts. Should I go or should I stay? I just don't think that, I can't imagine that's an easy decision. And we have, a track record, well, evidence in Jamaica. There's I don't know, remember her name now, a girl who was a field event. She was a thrower. Who was homeless.
She was homeless on the street.
And
We talk about that last yeah.
yeah, she was homeless. So it's not like we have never had
I think
a struggle after competing in Jamaica.
what message, what kind of message do you think does this really send to young Jamaican athletes, right, who are coming up through the system, especially those who dream of wearing the Jamaican colors?
I don't know that it necessarily dampens their dream to wear the Jamaican colors at all. I think that, they continue. But I think they're also, look, these kids are growing up in a very different world from you and I. I can speak for myself. When I was coming up and when I made the bobsled team, it was really just about wearing the colors. It was about, making money. And again, I was in the Army, so I would go bobsled and I take my bobsled uniform off, put my Army uniform back on, and I went to work. So I actually saw bobsledding in a way as an extension of my Army service. But for a young woman, a young man who is coming up now, especially in track and field, it's a professional sport. And I think the sweet spot would be to represent your country and know that you're making enough money to sustain yourself if you make the correct financial decisions after your career, which is usually a short one. So I don't know that it's detraction or discouragement, but I think their eyes are now open to the business, because let's face it, there's a business side of sports.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in here just a little, Dennis.
Yes,
and I really love the fact that both of you represented Jamaica over the years, so both of you would have have inside knowledge of what happened to an athlete, from preparation to representing at the highest level, and you've been through it. But what I want to do, I want to take it down now. See if I could break it down for people like me, who not an athlete in terms of representing Jamaica, at the Olympic level. But say, these athletes on a whole, I think, they're now having an eye opener. As you say, yesteryear, it was more about wearing the colors. Today, for these young athletes, it's more about their life before them. This is their job. It's their hustle. And it's like regular, like me, who is just out here. If I'm going looking for a job and say I did 5 interviews, I am definitely going to pick the job that is probably going to be offering me the most. So, for example, I'm given 100,000 a year, 200,000 a year, 300,000 a year, 400, 500,000. I am going to be tipped to look at the 500,000 and what that package brings, probably health insurance, so on, so forth, housing for my kids and so forth. If a job provides all of that, even though it's from my community, the other job is, that giving me 100,000, I don't care. I am stepping out. I'm going up to Kingston or something. I'm not going to stay down in St. Elizabeth to work 100,000 when 500,000 is right there, being laid out before me, because I have to think about my family that I have to feed. So, and I'm going to also look at what you were mentioning about Turkey. Turkey, I think, is making a strategic move, and they are taking some of our very young athletes who's already making a name on the international scene. They're young, so they still have another 5, 6, 7 years in them. If you ask me, they're they're field events athletes, and I don't think they are put under that stress like a regular 400-meter, 200-meter athlete, like every week. They get more time to recuperate, if you ask me. And most time they're on a more, fitness, strength training thing. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying, with these athletes, they are young, one, and now their eyes are open to all of the opportunity that is out there. And I think Turkey is making the move at the right time.
Yeah, the saddest, well, one of the sad things about this is that Jamaica for many years have been trying to break through on the field event side of the sport. Yeah. I know here we are, people, breaking through, making it to the podium, and they're then as you ask about, athletes and, how this might impact them, I guess the question is, how is this impacting the approach now of those who are in charge of Jamaican sports? Whether at the JOA level or the J3 level or the other national bodies. Because it's a brave new world now where an athlete can train and do what they need to do and make the national team and go international and perform and catch the eyes of others who may go, well, you know what? Why don't you come? We can do better for you and your family. Because that's where the decision comes down to,
yeah,
patriotism. I think the days of relying on athletes competing just for the love of country
is over. Yeah, that is over, and that leads me to the question that lead to the question when it comes to governance and policy, right? So the question then would be, should the J3s and the Jamaican government create stronger retention incentive or binding agreement, right, for athletes that they develop? I mean, it's going to boil down to some of these things because if there's a domino effect of where athletes are just leaving because they can get $1 million, they can get. I mean, you have to remember that these athletes are not Usain Bolt and they're not Shelley and Fraser.
But that's so that they develop. You see, that's so I have a little issue with that, because it's not. So is there a sports program in Jamaica? Look, and I'm not an expert on these things, right? But we know we have a system, a culture in Jamaica. You have primary school champs and boys champs and sports day and everything in between, and development meets and as part of the program that the powers that be have instituted to develop sports in the country, especially track and field in this case, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know that there is, because when I say develop these athletes, I'm thinking of like some of the systems that exist in China and the former Soviet Union and so on, where they go into a town and they'll earmark a young little 7-year-old and go, come, you're going off to the Communist Party. You know what? I don't want anybody to get upset with me. You're going off to this official government training program. You won't be with your family, and you're going to live here, you're going to eat here, you're going to breathe here, you're going to train, and we're going to get you to the Olympics in figure skating or gymnastics or diving or whatever the case is. You could say, yeah, they invested a lot in developing these athletes. I don't think we have any programs like that in Jamaica. It's an individual athlete who may have been discovered by a coach, who may have been encouraged by a teacher, who may go, well, I have a talent, I like running, and then they train and go through the progression to make it to the national team. It's even unlike bobsledding, where we're plucking, an athlete out of wherever in Jamaica, and then the Jamaica Bobsled Federation has to invest a lot of money taking them to the various tracks around the world. First of all, they go down the track and then, develop them to possibly qualify for the Olympics. From that perspective, I can see how, we invested a lot of money in developing this person. but it's not the same track in track and field. You know, so I don't know how you go. Well, so no,
I'm thinking that, well, if there is a domino effect, then I'm thinking then that might be something they probably would consider, because they're not going to want to just sit there and watch all their athletes just get one of these.
So that means that so the answer, in my opinion, is not to go, start come up with rules and regulations and contracts to hold them. It's to create a better environment.
Right, which is lacking. That is one of the main things that is lacking. And I just don't understand. Okay, I mean, we can always blame the J3s. First of all, I don't even know what the JOA, what is their purpose. But the government itself, I mean, that stadium, I'm telling you, I'm so afraid to go to the stadium. And I have been afraid for many years. Like, if I go to the stadium and I go to the grandstand, I'm telling you, you can look for me. I'm going to be way down at the fence, because I've already mapped out that if this thing should fall, it wouldn't hit me. I'm all the way down to the.
That's where you're wrong. You need to be way up on the top of the grandstand, as if the thing fall, everything will go down and jam you up against the fence. You need to be up on the top.
I am so afraid.
Away from you. But
this 60-odd-year-old stadium, and I think I'm going to kind of move off a little bit of the questions, but I just believe that Jamaica has missed so much opportunity to excel in development of track and field in Jamaica when Usain Bolt was shining. There was so much opportunities, but they were blindsided. I mean, to me, the Bible talks about without vision, the people perish, and they have lacked vision. And even though Shelley Fraser is doing so well, I'm sure there's great disparities between Usain Bolt and Shelley, which I think is also a problem. Because Shelley is pretty much right there with Usain Bolt, but she's not making the same amount of money like them.
Yeah, well, bro. So you're just blindsided. They weren't blindsided. They lacked vision. I talk about it all the time. That like after Beijing, the powers that be should have been going to our sponsors, wherever they are, and say, listen, we need to have a conversation. We need a conversation, because we need a track in Cornwall. We need
Middlesex and Surrey. Exactly.
Sorry, we need infrastructure.
Yeah.
Not just 2 shorts and 2 spikes and 2 t-shirts, right? And Beijing came and went, and I never heard no conversation about that.
Absolutely nothing.
Berlin came, and we were. We can go look up, and I think we all know what where we ranked in the world, like 2.5 to 3 million people, and how we're ranked at the Olympics and the World Champions.
We're at the top.
Gold medal. And we not sit down with the people them and say, yo, we need to have a different conversation, because this thing is at a different level. And we need to put, so the young man and young woman growing up now in Jamaica would feel, I think, better knowing that, the powers that be, they are always looking ahead to see how they can improve. How they can improve.
And have our best
infrastructure and then better, frameworks for them to compete and earn when they get to professional level, be earning some money, to have some kind of financial security, so that at the end of their competitions years, they can,
live, take care of their family. Yeah. I mean, I went to South Africa, and I'm telling you, man, Mandela, who was in prison, right? As I walk into the airport, everything has Mandela name on it. You go to Jamaica, what do you see with Usain Bolt name on it? What do you see with Shelley name on it? They have missed so much opportunities, man, but they still have time, because they're still alive and they still have time. But they need to get some track in Jamaica, man. Like you said, Cornwall, Middlesex, and Surrey. We need some track, man.
We need infrastructure, man.
Ian, I think you have the hand on it.
Yeah. I was gonna say that they really missed the vision, because as just recently that in Kingston there that meet that was just completed. It proves that Jamaica has a factory for sprinters, and in the world, over the history of the six fastest man over the history of this, like 100 meter, Jamaica have 4 sprinters in that. Right. You have Usain Bolt at the top of it with a 9.5 clocking. that I don't think nobody gonna break that anytime soon in this decade, you know. And then again you have you and Blake 9.69, and then you also have Asaf for 9.72, and now Kishin Thompson 9.75. That's 4 of the top 6 in the history of the 100-meter, and these people, they're still alive, you know. They are still right here. They're still there in Jamaica, and we have many more young sprinters. If you look at the other guy, Oblique, he did 9.83 in the race, you know. So, and this is just last weekend, just after that year ago. So really and truly, we need to capitalize on these and the momentum that we're having even right now. But we have seen where the governing body, you know, they realize what is happening. I guess it's a wake-up call with 4 top athletes being just grab and bag and just taken away right now. That even I listened to the Prime Minister, he's saying we need to do something. Minister of Sports, we need to do something. But what I'm gonna ask now is, you 2 gentlemen who have been there, do you believe that they're gonna do something, and is that something gonna be good enough to keep our athletes?
Well, I tell you, actually, I was about to say earlier before you asked that. So is that this is the focus should be less on the athletes who drum ship and more on the administrators who are there steering the ship to make sure that the ship is of such that people will not want to jump. No, I wouldn't bet my life on that. I'm not even going to hold my breath that is going to be addressed, or if so, in an adequate and timely way. You know, I hope I'm wrong, but you know, I'm not going to.
Well, I can tell you, I saw something on Instagram the other day, and the president of the J3s, they are chewing him out. They are, when they talk about chewing, they're chewing him like chewing gum. Yeah, they're really on him, man.
You know what, Dennis? I think now that everything is being unpacked because of this movement, even the Jamaica public is now learning of what you guys had to be going through over the years, and it is still happening today. Because when I talked to you last week, I said, Dennis, what did they do for you as an athlete? And really and truly, I could look on your face, you were puzzled to figure something out. And you're a 2-time Olympian. I could ask Devon the same thing, you know, as a 3-time Olympian. What stand out, Devon, for you that Jamaica has done for you? And I want you to be open to the public. Just let us know.
So what Jamaica has done for me is has made me Jamaican. Something that I'm so fiercely proud of. It's like all of us. I'm not saying that I have a monopoly and patriotism and love of Jamaica, but you know, me just love my country. And so because of that, I do all kind of foolishness for it. You know, sleep on the floor, sleep on the floor in an airport. All right, sleep on the floor in the airport because we don't have the money. Deliver pizza. I'm in Evanston trying to qualify for the Olympics, and it's documented. It's in Sports Illustrated. It's on TNT and CNN, all them things there. Now I make it up, right? Delivering pizzas just to keep the dream alive, to represent the country. You know? And when people hear that, you know, the powers that be go, well, at least I'm not a thief. you know.
Dennis, while you're there, Devon, I don't want you to go too far before I get this question in. You know, because I read a little, and you said running barefoot in Jamaica, so you know the struggle. But with all of that, now I've seen, because I've read, and that's why I'm telling most Jamaica got to read into your life. You know, I've seen where you are now, a motivational speaker, a leader, CEO, you know, of a foundation. I say, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep on pushing. You know, I want you to just, you know, I know you're not going to have much time with us. We have to bring you back, as I know, you know, based on time. But I want you to just enlighten us on this empowerment move that you are making after athletic, you know, and asking young individuals to keep on pushing. Tell us a little more about you and that movement.
I'm a bobsledder. The only thing we know to do is push. and keep on pushing. I know Jamaicans like to say bobsledge. It's not bobsled,
Bobsledge.
it's bobsled.
Bobsled.
But I use, like, if I could go back, I was teasing you guys when I first came on, a 2 men from St. Elizabeth. I had some early roots in St. Elizabeth as well. Lived with my grandmother in Horton district, right outside Lakovia. When you see the tombstone, they make a right, go down a little bush there.
Weird on the bush.
I grew up in Kingston. I grew up in Waterhouse. Played, discovered football, played barefoot, went to Arden and started running barefoot. We know Arden on a big time track school and sports school and blah, blah, blah. But, and then after, I grew up in Waterhouse in the Gideon, right? Violent, impoverished, all of that. And joined the JDF, graduated from Sandhurst in 1985, commissioned that year, 12 days before my 21st birthday, actually. I became an officer in the JDF officially and served for 8 years, left as a captain. It's 33 years now, I'm counting. And in between that, yes, I competed in 2 Olympics while I served in the JDF, and then my 3rd one after I moved here to the US. And just kind of, I'm just lucky, I think, to have a life that provides insights that I can share across all these different industries here. And we're talking about all these Fortune 500 companies I've had the good fortune of speaking to around the world a little bit, mostly in the US,
A little bit.
India, been, down to Australia, the Caribbean, you name it. Just kind of sharing those insights, from what it means to learn to be resilient, growing up in Waterhouse and St. Elizabeth and spending time in Newcastle being abused, so to speak, quotation, right? And the lessons, getting to the Olympics, doing something that nobody has ever done as part of the original Jamaican bobsled team. And then, yes, the foundation, growing up in a place like Waterhouse where, it's challenging to say the least. I would know the deal. If you're not educated, then if you can't learn, you don't get educated. If you're not educated, you can't be, a constructive member of society. And growing up in that environment and having served in the JDF and gone back to Waterhouse and places like that to look for the bad boys, which I loved doing, by the way. But I know that not every young kid, young man or young woman is destined for a life of criminality. They all are full of potential. Mm-hmm. So my work through my foundation is to try to inspire as many of them as I can to hold myself up as an example, to say, I used to run up and down barefoot in these very schoolyard and these classrooms, and I've done this and that. And it's not to impress them, but really to impress upon them that you can do this and more as well.
And more.
What all of us are about, really. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Thank you for the enlightenment,
Yeah, man.
Dennis, take it away, Dennis.
Yeah, so I know earlier you talk about, sleeping in airport and all that type of thing. I had to do the same thing too, but as a matter of fact, I had to go a day before because I didn't have a ride. I wouldn't have a ride on the day that I was supposed to fly, right? So I had to go the day before because that's when I could get the ride. And I slept in the airport in 2 chairs. But you see, preparation for the chair sleeping came a long time ago. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And not only that, and then what really irks me a lot of times is when I hear these programs, for example, Dean Jackson Miller's show that I listen on a regular basis, right? And when this thing come about with ASAF and stuff like that, and then I hear some people talking, the way they're talking, they have no clue what the athletes go through. They have no clue. I'm not even talking about just the training. The psychological effect on these kids, they have no clue. Mm-hmm. Kids are being promised that they will give them scholarship and they get no scholarship at the end. What happened to those athletes? They're hurting.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So when they come and look, I was invited to speak in Uchireas at organization in England, and they asked me to come and speak. And when I went there and I spoke at that event, for some reason, there was, when I finished my presentation, a lady walked come over. She was from Spanish Town, and she walked come over and said, "Oh my God!" And we were like, "What did I say wrong?" No, you know what I mean? She said, "No, I understand." She said there was a brilliant girl that lived next door to her. I mean, promising girl, promising athlete. And she said, all of a sudden, the athlete stopped talking. She don't want to talk to nobody. This was an athlete that was really upbeat and doing well, and everybody proud of her. And all of a sudden, she stopped talking. And when I finished that speech there, she knew exactly what was wrong.
Yeah.
She knew exactly what was wrong. The Jamaican public, they don't know.
They see the end of the journey, when you're standing on the start line wearing the colors, and win, lose, or draw. Of course, I much prefer when you win. If you don't win, they're true you out. And they haven't started to even begin to understand the challenges that individual athletes go through. Forget about the training and how difficult that is, but everything else that would go into helping you to have the mindset to be able to train the way you need to train, compete at that level. Remember that we're already starting from behind the curve with the less resources on the national level than the people that we're competing against. So you realize the resilience, the mental toughness that it takes to overcome everything.
All of those challenges.
Everything in your sporting life, and then you add the training on top of that to get to the Olympics. No, it's not
an easy road. The song said it. It's not an easy road, man. And the other thing about it also, I remember when I go home for the trials in Jamaica. But then you see the athletes can kind of have it a little easier now. But then you had to make the team. So if you go home and you don't make the team, you have to buy your way back to school. You see what I'm saying? Where are we supposed to get money from? We're not working. We're on a scholarship. And if you don't make the team, and I'm telling you, I had my own experience. I made the team and still was having a hard time getting my ticket. And one, I won't call his name, walk in there and say, "Dennis, you all right?" And I said, "No." And he said, "What is the problem?" I said, "I need my ticket to go back." And he said, so what is the problem? What is the problem? Get him on a ticket, man. Get him on a ticket. And that is how I end up getting my ticket.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? He said, "Get him on a ticket, man. Because we met the team. Why are you holding up my ticket?"
No, while you're talking there, Dennis, we're gonna say shout out to Chris Baker, who have joined us and just sending the same message. He said, "So true. I have that experience too." And if we should go out there and do a survey of all the athletes, I tell you, we're gonna have some stories.
Every athlete have their own story. Every athlete have a story, man. Yeah. I know Devon, you have to go, but really appreciate you coming on. We have not gotten to half of the questions. So
you know what, Dennis? I'm not gonna let Devon run before, and I'm gonna let him share one thing before. So I have one question for you, Devon. Then you can run. But in the meantime, I want the crowd to know, the viewers to know, that we're gonna have a program, and this is just a lead up to it, which is Real Talk, Real Money with Ian and Dennis. And on that program, Devon, we're gonna let you greet the stage because you're also an entrepreneur and you're out there making your own money, teaching others to make money. And there's a life after track and field where you of yourself can do so much more. So Devon, before you leave,
bobsledding. It was bobsledding, not track and field.
Yeah, bobsledding. You have to forgive me. Remember, I'm not the Olympian man, I'm
the nurse. Bobsledding is way cooler than track and field.
Hey, watch him out. Watch him out. We can have a fight here, buddy.
Well, never run you over the bobsledding up. Let's see how fast you can go. But anyway, as you were saying,
Pull the run.
You know what? Hats off to you, man. Hats off to you.
The run. There's one message you have for Jamaica before we start losing more athletes. Tell us what that message would be, and in the same time, just let the audience know where we can find you, to read up some more, learn some more of what you're doing at the same time. So next time you come back, I think we'll have far more questions for you too.
Cool. Start with the easier part first. You can find me at devonharris.com, www.devonharris.com. Easy to find. Or my handles is at official Devon Harris. Official Devon Harris. You'll find me on Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. What can Jamaica do? I think it's. I know we love our athletes. I think it's spending time to understand. We're talking about the public here now. Spending time to understand the journey, and don't just get caught up in the hype. You know, the song said, "Well, we do it for the love, we don't do it for the like." Don't get caught up in the hype, so to speak, of them at the Olympics, at the World Championship, competing and doing well and so on. There's a real human being wearing those colors, you know. There's a real human being behind all of the accolades. And when the stadium empty and they go home, you know, and they turn 40 and 50, it's like, whoa, where are the fruits of my life work? Don't forget that. While you get to come to the stadium and cheer, you know, because they took time off from your job, that's their job, and they deserve an opportunity to earn from their job while making the country proud.
I just want to say thank you very much, Sir Devon, for being here this afternoon, for gracing the platform. Together We Rise, Building Our Nation, and sharing your wealth of knowledge and experience on your journey. We have, as Dennis said, we barely unpacked just this of it. So definitely,
yeah, man,
we have to bring you back. But thank you very much, and peace out and all the best. Dennis, anything you have to say? Let him know before you run away.
Well, I think I'm going to use this opportunity to say thank you, Devon, for being tough on me to write my own story, because me writing my book is because of what you said. Because I was going to get a ghostwriter.
Yeah,
when I called, you said, "No, you write it. It's your story. You tell your own story and tell it how you want to tell it."
To army for your hand.
The army in you came out. But it did work. I really appreciate it. So now I get a chance to tell you officially, publicly, thank you.
I'm waiting for the commission's check. But yeah, man, thanks for having me, and everybody, you know the deal. Keep on pushing.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Devon. Take care. Peace out.
All right, Dennis, that was so good of Devon to just bless us this afternoon. As I said, he has so much to unpack. We have not uncovered it. If we, I'm happy that we didn't even ask him to just tell us his story before getting to where he is now, because that's a whole session by itself.
That's a whole session by itself. Man.
Yeah, he grew up in Kingston, barefoot boy in the heart of downtown Kingston, coming also from St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. So he has a wide base, and he said, keep on pushing. I love that part, as an Olympian, is there, and do the bobsled is to push, and I like that terminology, and the fact that he's the CEO of Keep on Pushing, and is a foundation where I see that he's helping kids in terms of literacy. So it is so good of him to not just to take his journey for himself, but he's trying to help others along the way. Thanks. And thanks again, Chris Baker, for joining us. So we're gonna just hang out here, Dennis, for another 12 minutes or so. Anybody wanna join on? You could make the comment, and if I have to post a link in there that you could join and have a word too. But
they could ask questions too,
Yeah.
If they have a question that they want to ask, yeah.
It's an open platform, guys, and I want you guys to feel welcome. And as we are here, we're just making this announcement publicly that coming between next week and the other week is something we're working on. And we see where there's a need for it, where athletes, they need that encouragement, they need that push. Dennis in himself is a motivational speaker too, a coach, life coach. He has a journey also, and as he said, he also has a book. And there's so much that these young men can give back to Jamaica. And we also have ways of allowing athletes to earn, even if they're not earning from a sponsor. Me and Dennis were overseas, and we have been able to tap into some extra money power, earning extra money, even as an athlete, just starting your journey, and also going through the most reputable sponsors that's out there, from Nike, Puma, Adidas, you can be making money on the side without even being signed by them. And there's so much other things that is there. So we have decided to create this page. It's Real Talk, Real Money with Ian and Dennis. We want you guys to go over there and start, signing in, join that platform, and then we'll be going live. These will be posting these over there. But that's probably where you're next gonna hear Devon Harris with the rest of his story and impactment. And also, as we said, he's an entrepreneur. So he's gonna also give us, ways of earning, while you're running, earning while you're living. So we realize that the money is the problem because people is moving, Dennis, to where the money is. So if we can get the Jamaican to bring money into that country, into their pocket, without depending on the federation, without depending on a sponsor, I think you have decided a good thing, Dennis, for us to do this. The fact that we are here overseas, and as we say, if we find the money tree, we have to share it. So this is a part of what's going to be happening. And that platform, guys, you learn to earn when you join that platform. And you'll be having very influential people coming over to speak to you on a weekly basis. Yeah, Dennis, anything you want to say,
Yeah, I think, like, again, we're gonna bring some former Olympian athletes on to talk some more about their experience, because I think the public need to know what some of these athletes go through so that they can make better comments and not criticize and downgrade and belittle athletes who are trying to do the best thing for themselves and their family. So I think the more the country knows about what goes on and stuff like that, I think you see they have a better answer and come on board and might want to help some of these athletes. When you look at all these businesses, these private businesses in Jamaica, how much are them helping these athletes? Not many of them helping these athletes.
That's so true.
There are some athletes who have to take bus every day to come to Kingston or go to the stadium to train. And sometimes when they come to stadium, they're having a hard time getting back home because sometimes they don't have any money.
All right, Dennis, I'm happy that you touched on that point. And, my friend here with me, he make a mention. And, behind the scene, we have getting comments and people calling us and saying things. And this particular person, my best friend here, and he said, remember Shorty Malcolm? He died after playing for Jamaica in the national stadium, and they had to drive back. There's no way an athlete, after coming and represent Jamaica, had to drive back home after a game. He should have been put up in a nice hotel. The team should have been at the hotel. Not everybody spreading and going. After the game, you'd have exerted so much energy. They'd have used up most of their energy, lactic acid and all that kicking in, the fatigue and so forth. For that athlete to drive home, I said we should probably take responsibility for the death of Shorty Malcolm. Because really and truly, he should never be on that journey going back.
Right.
And it goes across the sports. So we see it in soccer, we see it in cricket. Right now, the cricketers don't want to represent the West Indies. They rather go down to Dubai and play a little league. They rather pay IPL, CPL, because they're getting a lot of money. We have some top cricketers. Are we seeing them in the West Indies? Look at our very own Russell and Ravman Powell. All these guys, they play for the West Indies here and there when it's fitting. But really and truly, if they're going to devote their entire career to West Indies cricket, they would never make more money. We have seen so many cricketers who play for West Indies and they're living less than the regular human being who probably just have a shop down the road. And we look at Patrick Patterson, you see the man, they say he's on the street. And so many more athletes and cricketers and footballers we could mention that some of them probably sleeping under the tree and we don't know because we don't even follow up with the athlete.
Right. They don't, because I think they have the notion that, there's so much athletes coming behind. So, okay, if these athletes want to go, it's okay, it's fine, let them go, because we have 10 more coming behind. We lose one, we have 10 coming. And that is the problem. That is the problem. They feel like, they don't have to do much for the athletes. I mean, when you look at us, big man going to Olympic Games and representing Jamaica, how much money do you think they give us for per diem? I mean, you're looking at us, big man going to the game, and they will look at us and give us $10. And you couldn't say that to the Jamaican public because they might think say, I lie me I tell. $10 a day. I'm trying to figure out how much they're giving them now. You know what I mean? I remember Raymond Stewart at the 1996 Olympics, where we were at our training camp in North Carolina, and we had a all hands meeting where everybody, gather and things like that. And he said, okay, so how long you going to give us $10 a day? When is it going to increase? You know what I mean? So the Jamaican public need to be educated and how these athletes are being treated, and it's time for some changes. Again,
I think that is happening right now.
I just need to know what is the purpose. What is the purpose of the JOA? That is what I want to know. So maybe the president can come on and explain what is their purpose.
We're gonna get that message out to the president. We wanna see them, and it's good when we hear the both side of the story, see both side of the coin, because we have to flip it from time to time. So let's see, get them on here, and this is the goodness about this program that we are having, Dennis. It gives the opportunity that people can come on here and make things clear, clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is very important. I think now is when a lot of Jamaican is really learning what is happening behind the scene while we're losing our top athletes. This is hurting. It's hurting me when I see poor young talented athletes have to walk away. And I was reading another article, Dennis, where they were talking that not enough is given to the field event athletes. So it's like one set get a little more hug, the next one get none. And that's why they can jump ship so fast. They say, you guys don't know what we're going through. The sponsors don't even business with us. The sponsors not even giving us the support because we're field event athletes. So they take them for granted. But here we have a country that is like, wow, these are talent, and we need this talent in our country to represent us. Let us take the shine and glory. But we can't allow it to happen.
Yeah, it's a different time now. It's a different time now. It's a different time now, and we talked earlier about without vision the people perish. Without vision, the country has missed so much great opportunities to capitalize off. Again, Usain Bolt and all of those top athletes. All of those top athletes, they could have capitalized more on those athletes and even create a program or a system where some of the assistance can be trickled down to the less fortunate kids, But again, we'll see what happens.
Well, as I say, there's a lot of room for improvement. Let's see the plan. I heard they have gone into emergency meeting. Let's see when that door is open back to the public, what is gonna come out of that room. Because we're all waiting. Because I don't think this time they can push anything under the rug.
Oh no,
People
I don't think so.
Really waiting and a real explanation of what is happening here. And I tell you, while we're here, I just want to say a big shout out to Shellyan Fraser Price and her performance at the National Stadium just a day ago, 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she qualified again to represent Jamaica and wearing the colors or pocket rocket. How dangerous she is when she hit the field. I saw her running with these young athletes, and you could not tell that she's not a 16-year-old.
I know, she's stepping, man.
And we're so proud of her, And they said that was the last run for her at the National Stadium. And even that, I think we should have a bigger celebration.
Bigger celebration.
The entire Jamaica should be up there.
I'm sure they're going to say, oh, we have something planned. They're going to say, we have something planned. We're working on something and all that type of thing. Yeah.
It wasn't promoted enough, if you ask me. We can't have our icon like Shellyan running on the track there, and which so-called would probably be her last time at the National Stadium, and that's all that we get. I don't think that's a good send out. That for me, I think we should be out there knocking drums and the cadet in the country from the schools and everything should be up there knocking drums and dancing and celebrate. We should have a carnival after that event, because of who and what she represents. She is, man, such an athlete. So Shellyan, we'll miss you. We know you're still here with us for a while, but we're gonna certainly miss Shellyan Fraser.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great athlete. Great athlete. I'm still afraid of the stadium. I just want the public to know that if you see me at the stadium, if I tell you I'm coming to the stadium and you want to see me, you're not going to see me under the grandstand. You're not. It's either you're going to see me in the bleacher side, or you're going. If I come on that side, I'm going to be way down at the end. Devon said I need to be way up at the top, but no, I am going to be way down because I've already mapped it out. I went in there and I measure it up, my own intuition, and say, okay, if it's falling, it's going to drop right over there. So I'm all the way down here. It's dangerous, man. That stadium is dangerous. It is so dangerous, man.
Did you walk with the tape measure, Dennis? You look like you live like a tape measure, ready to build a new one.
Man, that thing is so dangerous. Just looking at it, man. Are you talking about 60 odd years, man? 60 odd years. Oh, man, that's.
Yeah, man. I listen. Sometimes I listen to people who have some sense. Put it this way, and I've listened to Lisa Annan a few times, and she has some powerful vision of hers, and it involves our athletes. We're losing out in so much we could have gained. Our little country, Jamaica, can gain so much from our athletes. The power of our athletes, the love that they have overseas, local, globally, around the world. The same thing with our dancer artists. We realize all of them coming overseas, bringing in, look at Vibes Cartel, $1.3 million for one appearance. Why that money is not done in Jamaica? All that money is going to other places. What is going on? Buju Banton, all of them trying to move out, spread out. But yet, see, we have that big old arena where the entire world can come fill up. When time them go up on the stage down there, all of them under one umbrella. We are not doing enough for sports tourism, music, and all these. There's so much Jamaica have to offer the world, But really and truly,
not only that, I guess we had the vision. I don't know if they see. They don't even have like a. I don't even know if they do, because they probably do and I don't know. Like a art gallery or a whatever you call that, a museum, right? Where they have, these athletes, statues or whatever in there, stories about the athletes and stuff like that. But you touch on a good point there, because it's not only the athletes, but it's also the coaches. You see what I'm saying? It's not just the athlete, it's also the coaches too. They're going to start recruiting these coaches, man.
Of course, because we have the best. As I said, I was looking at it. I said, out of the top 6 fastest men in history at the 100-meter, we have 4 of them. Little Jamaica.
Yeah.
It is something that we definitely have to start look into. We may be little, but we hear that word. We're little, but with Talawa.
True.
So why won't we just capitalize on these things? Don't let others come drain the resources, and we are allowing that to happen. Even in the country, we have people come buy out with airline. We don't own Air Jamaica anymore. It gone. We see people come in, take over our backside thing. It gone. We see people come in and take over all the road them. Basically, gone. Every time you drive on, you have to pay. We see people come in and take up with beautiful land, come put in them infrastructure, them hotel, and so we can't even go on White Sand Beach some places. It don't make sense.
That you're talking about the beach. I mean, and don't forget the wharf, right? Because I don't know if Jamaica owned 51% of the wharf, because the last time I heard is 49. So I don't know if I stand corrected. But who owned 51, right? So you're going to find out that an influx of goods going to be coming into the country. Some of them that probably we would not even accept. And that's what they do. They go around and try to own the wharf, or own majority of the wharf, so that they can bring in what they want to bring into the country. You know what I mean? When you talk about the beach, give me a second. You talk about the beach in Hawaii. Any hotel that is built on the beach, they have to leave a pathway for the locals to be able to go onto the beach. They can't do that in Jamaica. They push them off. They don't have no beach. they don't have any free beaches for the people. And then they ask them why they have mental health problems.
Losing out big time.
Yeah.
But I would say, as Jamaican, we have to really come and put our hands and heart together. And if we have to move some of them people out of the system, we have to move them out, Dennis. We have to vote out some of them.
Yeah.
We have to move out some of them. Some of them, they are too long and they miss what is happening in the new world, the new era. What we kids are look for is not what yesteryear was accepting and welcoming. With it, as I said, and Devon said, back in the days, you were just satisfied to just not say, "I wear Jamaica color, run for Jamaica." But now there's so much money on the table. At the end of the day, guess what? We have a trophy for repair. Can look on it. Then broke off, then get damaged over time. And guess what? You think people want done when they're done with their career running for Jamaica, all they have to show is one medal or one trophy. Then they can't even show a house, a car, or anything. Worst thing, Dennis, you were talking about the war. No, say we're living here in America and you want to go back home. You want to bring home your car, you know how much money you pay there 3 times the month if your car forget it back to Jamaica.
Right.
It's
no concession.
no, bro, who them a bill? Them a make outsider come in and take over these system. And you have to buy back from them. So we have to spend more money and go back out of the country. Because you want to allow your own to bring in the money. If we bring in more money, let's pay out less. There's more for us to spend there.
Yeah.
You get what I say?
Absolutely.
So make we have more money remain in our pocket, then we have more money to spend on the ground. But you can't even bring in your car. You want to send one back up to help out the farmers, them you can't send it. Because so much tariff and how much markup the money. You want to help your brother, you can't help him. Because you probably send one back when he left out for water, you can't clear it. And then they action you. And then these other companies own the other percentage of it. Them action you something, which and them see one bite back.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot, man. But Dennis, as I said, it was a good afternoon, and we really enjoyed the time with Devon Harris, bobsledder.
Yes, sir.
He really graced the stage with his presence, and as I said, he's doing great things out there. It's about we start following our history and our roots, because it wasn't the link that you sent me. I wouldn't even learn so much of it. So as you say, we should have those people 3 times representing us at the Olympics. We should have his picture all over Jamaica. Every student should know who he is. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Every student should know who Dennis Blake is. But guess what? They're dumb to it. And just like me, I didn't have all that information before you sent me that link, and I go into it and see all that he's doing. And these are things that we can all join force with people like him who is doing so much. In terms of literacy, anybody come up with literacy and education and them things that me into it. Empowerment of youth, me into it. Me join hands with anybody doing those things. So really and truly, it was a good afternoon, Dennis. I give you the last couple minutes. I'll run to, play some cricket today, so I'm kind of tired. Travel yesterday. So you take the last minute of the evening.
Yeah, you have to remember, so you're not that young anymore, man. You're not that young anymore.
Boy, I feel pain now. My captain today, and excited at the beginning, at the end of the game, closer to the end of the game, we can't hear him anymore. We say, "Oh, go on." He said, "Boy, we start feel pain."
Yeah, I just want to echo what you just said. That it was a great interview with Devon Harris. Happy that he was able to share, from a bobsledding perspective. It's not just track and cricket, and it's not just track and cricket that went through or are still going through some of the challenges with these organizations. So you can tell that he has had his own experiences, and we're just happy to inform the public, because the public really don't know a lot of things, and so they will jump on the bandwagon and say, the country is doing this and doing that, and really and truly, you asked me the question, what is it that I can say I get from the J3As, and from the association, and I at first I was like, is that a trick question? You know what I mean? and Devon Harris can say the same thing. What did he get? Nothing. You know what I mean? But again, we're just rooting for these young athletes and also for those that are making the transition. We wish them all the best. And I think, again, it hurt. And wherever they go, they are still Jamaicans, right? They're going to be seen and known as Jamaican athletes running for another country.
Sad.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dennis. Thanks for unpacking a lot since this happening, what's going on there in Jamaica that is affecting the entire nation globally. It's affecting all of us in the diaspora. Wherever we are, we feel it because we're born Jamaican. Wherever we go, even though we move from Jamaica and live in other places, Jamaica is still in us rooted deep, So anything that happen on the ground and affect those on the ground affect us, no matter where we are. And we just want to say, let us stay strong. One Jamaica. And I'm just gonna show on stage here a little comment that came in. This gentleman said, his foot touched England. He's blessed. Okay, so we have Leslie, who is now living in our country in Jamaica. Leslie Longhurst. We gotta check out his place also. People from overseas, you're coming to Jamaica and looking somewhere to stay. Well, you can check out this young man here, follow him on his Facebook page. But he's an Englishman living in Jamaica. We gotta say big up to him, and he's doing a lot down there. He collects like bottles and so forth. Also, he has a program that those plastic bottles that will be gone into where, collecting mosquito and dust and all of that stuff. He gets them back, get them into a recycle, and actually you get paid for picking them up. So big up Leslie on the south side of St. Elizabeth there. So we probably gotta bring him on one afternoon so he could talk about what he's
absolutely
what he's doing. Yeah. But for so many of us, we have to leave Jamaica and step out just to try and make a better life for us and our family. So the athletes, they're just actually doing the same thing. If there's no money on the table, why stay?
Yeah.
So we see you guys.
The lifespan of athlete is not that long too. So
I guess so you have to make solid decision, and decision that you make now will affect your future. So we have to be spot on. No room for mistake. That's what they will say.
Right.
So Dennis, thank you again, brother. And next week, guys, you'll see us. And I said, just go on and check out Real Talk, Real Money. Ian and Dennis, or Dennis and Ian, however it is, but go look for it and join that group on Facebook right now. We'll be coming with the other side of it, but it's gonna be more conversation, more candid conversation like this that will involve you, your views, your ideas. We want you to share it across the screen. Type it. If you have something, just type it, put it there. We'll help you build and we help you grow. We're all Jamaican. And if we're not Jamaican, like Leslie, we adapt Leslie now to Jamaica. So he's a part of the Jamaica culture. The Jamaica roots more than me and you, Dennis. I see bar we have set up. I don't go over there, but one of them day when we go to Jamaica, we'll go over there and have some fruit punch. And sour drink. So let's see we'll be coming. Yeah. All right, Dennis, take it easy.
Yeah, man, take it easy. Thanks. Have a great evening.